What's up, brother? What's going on, twin? How you doing today? Y'all hit my fan in the back. That shit loud as fuck. Might turn that motherfucker down. Tell the way to everybody get up here before I start the stream. How you doing today, brother? I know I supposed to fucking binge stream. But work been kicking my motherfucking ass. That 9 to 5 be kicking my ass, yeah. Try a young goat from Chima. Is that a city? Hello. How you doing? I guess we're gonna get started. I ain't get started. If I can grab it. Hello, grab. Hello. I can't grab that shit. There you go. Put this up here. Boom. I can wait about 5 more seconds. But how y'all been doing? How y'all been doing so far, man? Y'all been doing alright? We're back streaming, you know. What day is it? Thursday through Sunday I'm streaming all 11 p.m. all week, bro. Doing it on the weekends, during the day I stream, I game. I do my little gaming. Things of that nature. So y'all make sure y'all check it out. Be notified. I appreciate everybody been liking, subscribing to the channel.
Another one.
Give me a hell yeah.
Community. Well, I get started up, fuck it. Oh shit.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't do it.
You said the shots came from the back.
Is it Orlando?
Yes.
Let me just ask you point blank. Did you kill Tupac Shakur?
We want to know.
I didn't kill Tupac.
Oh, my bad. I ain't put my Wi-Fi on. Man, I'm tripping to him. My bad. I might have to take that bitch off entertainment. Fuck that. Hold on, tell me about shit real quick. Oh, I like the entertainment shit. I'm trying something to do that shit. Yeah, nah, that shit hit different. Oh, yeah, dog. Fuck that. Fuck out my people at. Hold on. Let me change this shit real quick. I ain't going for that shit. I don't know, I gotta change this shit. Oh, there we go. I had to change that motherfucker. Hell no. Let me make sure it changes before I do it. Before I go exit out this motherfucker. It still got entertainment, bitch. Oh, I know you fucking lying. What the fuck? Okay, bet it changed. Bet it changed. Okay, bet. I'm about to say, but I'm about to flip the fuck out. Do it. Get into it. Lock and load.
I just want to let everybody know. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do it.
You said the shots came from the back. Big Dre, Orlando. Who shot Tupac?
Who did it?
Pac not gonna tell the story. I ain't gonna tell the story, but I tell you this. It wasn't Anderson, so that's all I got to say about that part.
I mean, I've been thinking, you know, maybe I'm a scapegoat or something. I mean, I'm like the victim.
It was a prophecy.
I been hearing death around the corner a lot, bro. That nigga said, what Tupac said? He said, if I die soon, who cares? I said, damn, dude. He said, I've been repeating. I was like, God, that's fucked up, Tupac.
Let the world know I plan to die. If I don't leave with what I came for and be denied.
He said that. If I die tonight, he said that.
I've been shot and murdered. Can tell you how it happened word for word.
We are here today to announce the arrest of 60-year-old Dwayne Keith Davis, aka Keefe D, for the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Hands on top of your head right now.
We're going to take that male first.
Hands on top of your head.
How did you feel about that?
I'm like, damn.
On September 7th, 1996, rap icon Tupac Shakur was fatally wounded in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas. The incident occurred at 11:15 p.m. when the black BMW carrying Tupac and the Death Row label boss Suge Knight stopped at a red light at East Flamingo Road and Koval. Pac was struck by 4 .40 caliber rounds fired from a Glock.
Damn.
2 in his chest, 1 in the arm and 1 in the thigh. The shots came from the left back window of a white 4-door late model Cadillac with 4 passengers in it. All members of the Compton Southside Crips, the driver Terrence Brown, Dwayne Davis aka Keefe D, DeAndre Smith in the back, and Keefe D's nephew Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, who Tupac and various people associated with the music label Death Row, to which Tupac was signed to at the time, got into a fight with hours before the shooting. Tupac died from his wounds 6 days later at the University Medical Center on September 13th. In this video we will not only analyze the shooting itself, but also take a look at the motives of his assassins, to understand why it all happened, to see who was really behind it, while addressing all the rumors and breaking down the case from all angles. In order to do so, we have to go back a few years and take a look at the history and relationship between the key figures of this tragic incident. Only
all these motherfuckers haters.
One of the 4 passengers of the white Cadillac is still alive today, and that person happens to be the leader of the group, the uncle of Orlando Anderson, Keefe D. For the past decade, he made some wild statements and accusations involving Sean Puffy Combs, label boss of New York record company Bad Boy Entertainment, which at the time of the shooting was Tupac's biggest enemy. Pac himself was signed to Death Row Records, which was owned by his friend Marion Suge Knight, who at first was the main target.
You think that him joining Death Row was the downfall? Chat, let me know. You think that was a bad move by him? But he ain't no goddamn choice to be honest. I ain't gonna lie. I don't know when he gonna get out of jail.
Of the assassins. It wasn't just one little brawl at the casino. There was more to it. The shooting was the result of a chain of events that occurred months and even years before the Vegas incident. It all started before Tupac got involved, before he was released from jail. Pac had to pay the ultimate price for getting dragged into a war that people on his team had caused, which he took to the next level because of his sense of loyalty. Keefe D coming after Suge Knight was not a coincidence. It was the result of a sour-turned relationship between Suge Knight and Puffy Combs, who ended up taking advantage of the already existing friction between the Southside Crips and the mob Paru. Keefe D had known Suge since they were kids, as they were both born and raised in Compton, California. But they both ended up taking different paths in life. Keefe got involved with gangs and street life very early on, when he was between the age of 12 and 13. He became a respected member of the Southside Crips, while Suge was a good kid that grew up in the area that was ruled by Bloods. He didn't really claim any particular gang at the time. The guys he grew up with were mostly Bloods, but Keefe and Suge used to play football together, went swimming, ate hot dogs and chips, spent time together when they were teens.
That crazy motherfucker got them went to school together and shit. I believe all the motherfuckers end up on for real. Shit, I don't know. You want to be black or you want to be Indian? What you trying to do to him? What we doing right here? Everybody confused, goddamn. What you?
Suge became a great football player by the time he entered high school. From 1983 to 85, when Suge was between the age of 18 and 20, he attended and played football at El Camino College. In 1985, he transferred to the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and played football there for 2 years. Vegas became his second home, and that's one of the reasons why he later ended up opening the 662 Club there, the place where Tupac was heading to the day he got shot. While Suge was studying at a university, Keefe D was already in the drug game. That's why Keefe D never really saw him as a street dude, didn't have that type of respect for him. Suge went undrafted in the 1987 NFL Draft, but was invited to the Los Angeles Rams training camp. He was then cut by the Rams during camp. So he came back to Compton, where he became part of the Mob Piru set of the Piru Gang Alliance. He started dabbling into the music industry, and the people who grew up with him, which again were mostly Bloods, introduced him to gang and street life. He ended up hiring those people to work for him and his label. Keefe D around that time developed an interest in West Coast rap music. He was a friend of the Compton rap.
Man, I gotta do the NWA. MWA is coming on the stream. Make sure y'all stay tuned, locked in for that. It is coming on the stream.
Legend Eazy-E, and started to go to all types of rap events and shows. In 1989, he even met Tupac at the Greek Theater.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
Flavor, what the hell you got going on, boy? How many greases you had to put on that goddamn head? What the fuck? And they had a mean blow dry. You know that old school black blow dry? God damn, know what that shit look like. That motherfucker, they sticking on though, boy.
Where Chuck D, Flavor Flav, and their crew Public Enemy performed along with Digital Underground. Tupac at the time was part of the Digital Underground crew, dancing on stage with a Tarzan diaper. Keefe D was sitting right in front of the stage, and Pac came out wearing a diaper, which he and his friend from Tragnew Park found amusing.
What's up, bro?
They were laughing at him and found it odd for a grown man to wear a diaper. Keefe D's first impression of him was positive. Said he seemed like a cool and sympathetic guy. Months later, he heard about his childhood friend Suge wanting to create his own record company. According to Keefe D, him, his crew, and a kingpin called Pat Johnson helped Suge to fund the label Death Row-Records in 1990. All through cocaine sales while Pat Johnson was locked up. The feds had taken him.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on, boy. You get your goddamn ugly ass on.
I know you
down, and with him around 41 people from his crew, confiscating 26 cars, 13 Harley-Davidson motorbikes, 4 businesses, 20-something houses, and $9 million in cash. Keefe D got told by his boss Pat Johnson to move the 300 kilos of cocaine that he still had and that the feds didn't get. He wanted to invest that money to start the record company Death Row-Records. He was Suge's boss as well, according to Keefe D, and they all helped him with that label. Suge allegedly called him as he was trying to get in touch with Eazy-E, who, along with MC Ren, was from the neighboring Compton Crips set Kelly Park. Eazy-E used to sell dope with Keefe D's brother Kevin Davis, who was also there that night in Vegas when Tupac got shot. They would go out on tour with NWA. They used to cook dope at his mama's house. Suge and Keefe D both knew Eazy-E because of the dope game, and Suge tried to influence E to be on Death Row. But E was like, nah, I'm sticking with Ruthless, meaning his record company Ruthless Records. The day he got rejected, Suge called Keefe D for help to get Dr. Dre's number. Keefe D didn't know Dr. Dre personally, but he made a few calls and got the number for him. Next thing you know, Dr. Dre is convinced of coming to Death Row. Suge got close with Dre and the DOC, who were still signed to the label Ruthless Records, back when the group NWA was the biggest thing in hip-hop. The label and the group was run by Eazy-E. Dre and the DOC felt like they were underpaid and wanted to leave the label, but they couldn't.
So that's how Eazy became the leader of the NWA? Cause he putting the money in it? Y'all let me know, chat. I always wonder who was the leader. I used to think Ice Cube and Dr. Dre was the leader of NWA. When I growing up, I ain't no Eazy-E got down the leader.
So they got help from Suge. Suge and his lawyer convinced them that their manager Jerry Heller and Eazy-E were dishonest. He approached Dre about forming their own label, away from Heller and Eazy-E. Suge was the one with the money and the power. That's how years later, in 1996, he could make Dre leave his own label, even though they were quote-unquote partners. In 1992, Eazy-E was trapped by Dr. Dre into meeting him at a hotel. E thought they were still cool at the time, so when he got the phone call, He just showed up all by himself, thinking him and Dre are going to speak about the contract. But when he got there, Dre was nowhere to be found. The one waiting for him was Suge. E was obviously surprised. Suge went and locked the door. And then all of a sudden, several Mob Piru members came out of hiding. From under the bed, the closet and the bathroom. And they all had guns on them. Suge tried to bully and intimidate him, forcing E to sign the paperwork to release Dr. Dre, the DOC, and Michelle A from their contracts. But he was smart enough to leave a fake signature. They then left without committing any form of violence.
Left a fake signature.
Now,
I heard nothing ain't happened. The NWA movie lied. They lied. They say he got jumped and everything. But I've been seeing interviews. They be saying nothing had nothing. Keefe even said it that nothing happened at Eazy-E. If something did, that all the I think all the Crips would have got them rolled for Eazy.
the reason why this is relevant for our story is because Eazy-E was a Compton Crip, a hero of Compton, someone that the Crips really loved and respected. All the Crips from Compton supported, protected and defended Eazy-E, even the Southsiders, meaning people like Orlando Anderson and Keefe. And with Suge being Eazy-E's mortal enemy, he became an enemy for the Compton Crips as well. They always held a grudge against him. In the beginning, Keefe didn't even know that Suge had become a member of the Pirus. He said back then the Crips were so dangerous that Bloods couldn't even wear red around them, because they were their sworn rivals. Colors mattered more to them than quote-unquote the Union Blue and the Confederate Gray. If we saw somebody...
Why the fuck the colors got... I got a question for all the gangbang people. How the colors come goddamn... Make y'all want to kill people. No.
Wearing reds, we would make a U-turn and get them. Keefe said they would have approached Suge way sooner if something had happened to Eazy-E that day. The Southside Crips would have never allowed Suge to do him any kind of harm. Keefe's nephew Orlando Anderson, who was the guy that Pac and several other Mob Piru members beat up in Las Vegas in 1996, was BG Knockout's best friend, who on the other hand was Eazy-E's right-hand man, a nutty block Compton Crip, and he of course came back and told them about it. From that point on, the Compton Crips held a grudge against Suge and hated him, even before he got close with Tupac.
I said stop yapping and get a job. I got about 3 of them, bro. 9 to 5, I stream, and I'm a fitness motherfucker.
Fuck. Eazy-E himself wanted to kill Suge. He went and told Jerry Heller that he's going to shoot him, as he would become a huge problem in the future. But Jerry Heller convinced him not to do it. He himself got approached by Suge and 3 other Mob Piru members. They ended up threatening him with lead pipes and baseball bats. Mob James also had a .25 automatic Colt pistol. They managed to release Dre, the DOC, and Michelle A from their contracts. The Mob Piru ran into Eazy-E multiple times. A man named Kenny Tubbs allegedly ended up robbing him. Eazy-E never stopped hating Suge until the day he died. And from that point on, there was always a rivalry between the Mob Piru and the Compton Crips. Keefe at first tried to stay as neutral as possible, as Suge was his childhood friend. He tried to not get involved with the Eazy-E beef, as long as he doesn't get harmed. Suge's friendship with Keefe was hard to describe. It was like a shaky, on-off type of relationship, where it only needed a small push to go bad, and for them to turn into enemies. After Keefe learned about Suge being a mob...
What the ref, yo? Is it 1 tooth? I mean, you ain't got a full mouth, you just got 1 tooth out.
A Piru member, he only needed one little reason to go at him, and he would gladly throw their decade-long friendship away. But every time they met, Suge showed him love and respect, and that's why Keefe did the same. His personal beef with the people from Death Row started at a video shoot for a group Suge was working with called the 69 Girls, which took place at a mansion in Hidden Hills.
Damn.
Sergeant Reynolds, who was a Compton police officer and the private security of the label Death Row, was in front of the gate of the mansion in Hidden Hills. When Keefe and the Southsiders tried to get in, they weren't allowed to enter the property. Y'all ain't getting in. I don't know why the F y'all came all the way out here. Keefe D felt disrespected, and it almost came to a shooting. He had more than a dozen goons with him. Suge then came and tried to calm down the situation by letting them in. Later that day, he told Keefe D, "Man, if we ever hook up, we gonna be on top of the world." But Keefe felt like he was already on top. Didn't really want to get into the music business. When he walked up the stairs, he accidentally brushed up against the girl's behind, and the girl then started yelling at him. "This is Death Row, mother F." And Keefe D said, "B, I don't give a F about none of that ish." Suge then told her to shut up and broke up the fight. Keefe D apparently lost his temper and was ready to shoot up the place that day. A couple months later, one night while Keefe D was hanging out with some Southsiders at the Luna Park Club on Robertson and Santa Monica Boulevard, they ran into that same girl who was chilling with her crew, the 69 Girls. Keefe D approached her and said, "You remember me, B? This is Death Row, mother F," making fun of the way she was acting. Keefe D and the Southsiders beat them all up that night.
Damn.
Not just the woman he bumped into, but everyone she was hanging out with that night. That same girl then went back to Suge and told him about it. So that's how the friction between Keefe D and the label Death Row started. Now, how did Puffy get involved? Puff's connection with Keefe D happened back in 1991, when they first met through a Harlem legend named Eric Martin, aka Von Zip, who was not only a baseball pitcher, but also a New York gangster, who had a lot of connections in the music scene. Zip knew Keefe through the drug game. They were business partners, with Keefe D supplying PCP and cocaine from the West Coast to Zip on the East Coast in New York. Zip had this pre-established relationship with Puffy Combs because of his friendship with Puffy Stat. So that's how that connection was made. Puff would ask Keefe for favors shortly after they met. At this point in time, Puffy was just a talent director at Uptown Records. Keefe D, on the other hand, was already rich, through the dope game. He was selling large amounts of cocaine all around the US. Puff got in touch with him in 1994 to rent one of Keefe D's 6'4" lowriders for one of Usher's first music videos called Can You Get With It. He had charged him $2,400 for a single day. Usher was dancing on the hood of the car and ruined the paint. So he charged an additional $4,400 to repaint the whole car. After that, they ran into each other multiple times and stayed in touch. Weren't really friends or anything, but still did business together. Their acquaintance Zip wasn't really involved too much in the beginning, as Puffy didn't really ask for much in the first few years they had known each other. Keefe saw Tupac again at a house party at the Valet, with a whole bunch of young celebrities like Will Smith, Jada Pinkett, Queen Latifah, MC Lyte, etc.
Hey, Keefe D said he seen Pac at that damn party. He said that was, you know what I'm saying, one of them parties, one of them Diddy parties. That's what he said in the interview. I remember that shit.
He and Tupac showed up at the party together, back when they were still cool with each other. This was in 1994. According to Keefe D, Pac and Puff were really close, almost like a couple. Puffy and Suge.
He about to hit me the fuck out. Damn.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
Me out saying this shit.
Had a great relationship back then as well, with Suge helping him out wherever he could, as he was way more successful than him, at least in the beginning, with Death Row having multiple multi-platinum artists on the label with tons of hits and a large impact on the culture. Bad Boy was just getting started. Whenever Puff came out to California, Suge looked out for him and gave him protection for free, as he couldn't afford security at the time. But then on September 13th, 1994, Biggie released his debut album Ready to Die on Bad Boy Records, and it went to sell millions, dropping one hit after another. Multiple remixes, shows overseas, music videos, TV appearances. He was everywhere. Biggie made Bad Boy on the East Coast a direct competitor of Death Row Records on the West. In terms of success, sales, impact, and overall respect.
I'm just saying. They had all the motherfuckers on the west side, right? Snoop Dogg. Let's take Tupac out the equation for a minute. They had Snoop Dogg, all with Dr. Dre and all them. Y'all still, Biggie still got them. You know what I'm saying? Biggie tear their ass up.
In the game. Now it was Puff's turn to shine. Suge already had his turn with Dre The Chronic in 1992, Snoop Doggy Style in 1993, and now in 94 it was Biggie who was on top. And Suge loved Biggie. He wanted Big to perform at a location that he was promoting. But Puffy wanted Suge to pay money for it, even though Suge had looked out for him for years, done everything for him for free. Puffy didn't care about that and refused to do it for free. In 1995, the Source magazine had crowned Biggie the King of New York, and the West Coast didn't really have a guy on his level at the time, in terms of rapping skills, sales, status, and impact.
But I got a question real quick. Why the hell Tupac couldn't be the king of New York? I just thought about this shit. Like, Biggie, Biggie, we ain't gonna goddamn downplay Biggie's skills and shit, whatever. But I'm talking about before Biggie was on. Why Tupac wasn't king of New York and he from New York? I just want to know that little part.
Big exceeded everyone. So Suge felt like Puff did him dirty. Felt like he owed him something. Was upset and mad about it. He knew that when it comes to rapping skills, Dre and Snoop were not on his level. So he got a little jealous and was looking for a rapper that could outperform Biggie and outshine Bad Boy, so that Suge can get his revenge and continue looking down on Puffy. It was all ego. The rapper Suge was looking for was Tupac, but he was currently in jail. The East Coast-West Coast rivalry was a thing even back then. And now Suge, as the owner of Death Row, which was the face of the West Coast at the time, felt like the little guy Puffy was looking down on him. And not just him, the entire West Coast. Suge wanted him to come down from his high horse and give him the respect he deserves, as the guy who opened doors for him. He wanted to show the world that nobody can treat him like this. Thought of teaching Puffy a lesson. Suge was known as a tyrant and bully of the music industry. He had financed his label by bullying other artists and managers in the music scene, like Vanilla Ice, for example. The story of him intimidating the rapper on a hotel balcony, making him sign over the rights to his song Ice Ice Baby, which was the first hip-hop single to top the Billboard Hot 100 charts. His album To the Extreme sold over 15 million copies worldwide, and Suge was getting paid for that.
Vanilla Ice, we ain't like that back in the day. Hold on, I ain't never listened to Vanilla Ice. I know Ice Ice Baby, I know that. Goddamn, I hear shit we hear back in the day. I might have to listen to this shit. I might go to the gym and just listen to this shit, see what it's about. I appreciate that, I'm gonna say Bummer. Appreciate that, brother. But y'all let me know, the stream, it was a good album. Let me know, y'all.
Just by threatening him, and by quote-unquote hanging him upside down from a 15th floor hotel balcony. And now it was time to bully Puffy. He wanted to sign all the artists that Puffy worked with to Death Row. Jodeci, Mary J. Blige, and later on Biggie, when Suge wanted to expand Death Row by forming Death Row East, which was supposed to replace Bad Boy as the face of East Coast hip-hop. The plan was to sign all the talented R&B and rap artists on the East Coast, so that Puffy had no future superstar to work with. That's why on the 95 Source Awards, which took place on August 3rd, Suge went on stage and dissed Puffy by inviting artists from all around the world to join his label, while saying that they don't have to tolerate a guy like Puffy dancing in their videos and ad-libbing every single one of their songs.
Any artists out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the videos, all on the records, dancing. Come to Death Row.
Puffy was sitting in the audience when Suge was making those comments about him. This was really the first time he made his beef with Puffy public, by ridiculing him on stage and taking the legendary Bad Boy and Death Row rivalry to the next level. He even shouted out Tupac, who they plan to get out of jail.
Tomorrow we'll be doing Suge Knight interviews from jail. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned for that. We're gonna see what Suge Knight talking about. I know he talked about mostly Snoop Dogg, so we gonna get into that. And Tupac, all that, is he dead or alive, things of that nature. Y'all make sure y'all tune in tomorrow's stream, 11 p.m. same time.
Destroy Puffy, Biggie, and their entire label. I couldn't believe what he said. I thought we was boys,
Hell no, I don't love
Puffy
this.
said in an interview. He later came on stage and responded to those comments.
I'm the executive producer that a comment was made about a little bit earlier. But check this out. Contrary to what other people may feel, I would like to say that I'm very proud of Dr. Dre, of Death Row, and Suge Knight for their accomplishments. And all this East and West that needs to stop.
Nonetheless, Suge's words spread like...
No, did it mind me up right there. What the name from the wrestling? Rikishi in there? What that? Grandmaster Sexy. Scotty too high than Grandmaster Sexy.
Flu germs, reigniting ancient East-West hostilities. Puffy realized that it was too dangerous for him to come to LA. Not doing shows and promoting his music on the West Coast would slow down his money, and money was all he had in mind. So avoiding the West was not an option for him. He saw how Suge always had about 50 to 100 gang members with him everywhere he went, ready to go to war for him on his command, at least on the West Coast. Flying to LA with a security team of 50 men, 50 bodyguards wasn't an option for him, because it was way too expensive. It wouldn't even be worth doing all the shows in LA if the costs are that high. One full-time bodyguard can cost around $1,000 to $2,000 a day. Then you have to buy the plane tickets, transportation, hotel rooms, and that's for over 50 people. Because you can't just show up with 5 to 10 bodyguards.
I would call all my cousins. Hey, y'all, come on, we gonna buy it for a day. Shit, them motherfuckers be my cousins. They just be having to come up, show up. She ain't gotta pay them nothing.
When the other side has 50 to 100 goons with him. So he was forced to do what Suge was doing the whole time. Get close with one of the biggest gangs in LA to get their support. That was the cheapest and most efficient option for him. He obviously couldn't get the support from the Pyru, cause that was Suge's gang. So he tried to get close with the Crips, who at the time outnumbered the Bloods. There were around 3 to 4 times more Crips in Compton than Bloods. And everyone in Compton was afraid of them. The ones that...
I wonder if it's still like this too today. Let's see what the Crips got. Damn, the Crips got everything around them motherfucker. Freeway. Okay.
When scared, ended up...
Martin Luther King Jr. Hospital. Martin Luther King Jr. Son got a hospital? Damn, but you learn something new every day. God damn, I ain't know that shit.
Coming Pyrus, who had a reputation for being ruthless, violent, and dangerous. So to many people it looked like the Bloods and Crips were equally strong and influential. But Puffy thought it was a smart move for him to get in touch with the Crips, especially with the Southsiders, who actually had a history with the mob Pyru. They were enemies. The only person Puffy knew who could make that connection for him was his good friend Von Zip, who was already informed about his problem with Suge. Zip promised him that he can hook him up with some muscle in LA. People that can look out for him and protect him from Suge and the mob Pyru. Dangerous people that can take matters into their own hands. Follow him to clubs, video shoots, shows, events, wherever he wants. Without the restrictions that bodyguards have. He suggested to make that connection with Keefe D and the Southside Crips. Keefe D wouldn't have helped him if it wasn't for his business partner and friend Von Zip. Shortly after the Source Awards, Puffy once again called his friend Zip, who at the time was in his van with Keefe D, hanging out and smoking weed together. He wanted to ask about the support on the West Coast that Zip had promised. Zip answered the phone and said, "Hey, what's up, Puff? Yo, where's your boy Keefe? I need to talk to him. He is right here." Zip passed Keefe D the phone and said, "Puffy wants to talk to you." "What's up, dog?" Keefe D said. "Man, we're about to do the BET tour." Then he paused. "You think it's cool for us to come out there?" Meaning the West Coast. "Why wouldn't it be? Your boy, big CEO, he's tripping." Puff was talking about Suge. Keefe didn't know that the two fractions were having funk at the time. Puffy became so paranoid that he tried to associate himself with gangs to get extra protection, now that he had infuriated Suge Knight. He was worried about his image, and the quote-unquote white folks slowing down his money if they find out that he's involved with any kind of gunplay or anything illegal. But he had no other choice now because he was fearing for his life. He was more or less gearing up for war, and trying to make sure that he not only had bodyguards around him, but also gang members. People who do the dirty work for him if necessary. By getting close with the Southsiders, he could also create a rift between the Bloods and the Crips, to play them against each other. Because he knew that a lot of the Crips in Compton hated Suge for what he did to Eazy-E. He had passed on March 26th that year.
I ain't gonna lie. This shit made me want to play San Andreas. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, every time I see a picture of Eazy-E like that, I be want to play San Andreas. I want to see Ryder one time. CJ.
Everybody knew that Suge was his mortal enemy. Numerous people, including Jerry Heller, have said that Eazy-E wanted to kill him. So, the middle of the night when he's sleeping. Of course. Nate ended up hitting Dre-Star on the head with a golf club. Bouncer. Years later, Jerry Heller revealed that he regrets his decision. "I should have let him kill him. I would have done the world a favor." He would have done it, for sure. By himself. Puffy went and got support from people who were just itching to do something about Suge and his people. The animosity and hate the Compton Crips had for Suge didn't stop when Eazy-E passed. Crips like Gangsta Dre-Star and BG Knockout, who again were best friends with Orlando Anderson, the nephew of Keefe D, continued to verbally and physically attack several members of the Death Row family. In 1995, they had a fight with Nate Dogg and the Dog Pound at a golf course. Nate ended up hitting Dre-Star on the head with a golf club. Death Row was owned by a Pyro member. Most of the people working for them were Bloods. But they also had tons of artists that were Crips, like Nate and Snoop Dogg, Daz Dillinger, Corrupt, and others.
I'm about to go find that shit. Hell no. I'm gonna see somebody got a full video to it. Hold on. Sure. I want to see the fight now. Shit, somebody got a full fight. Oh, this the Leno Brown. Damn, he got a full fight. It's crazy. Appreciate y'all. Got me right here. I appreciate y'all. Oh. Snoop Dogg, I don't hear nothing you gotta say, Snoop Dogg.
Southsiders had a problem with them too. Some saw them as traitors, hated them just for being affiliated with Suge and the Ma Piru. Everyone close to that man became a target. Suge was showing up to every single one of Puff Daddy's concerts and shows, trying to intimidate him, provoking and humbling him in front of other people, forcing him to do something. It would get worse day by day. Even though Suge was Keefe D's childhood friend, he agreed to help Puff and tried to calm him down. "Just send me 40 to 50 tickets and we'll be in there deep at all your concerts." Keefe D was convinced that Suge and the Ma Piru wouldn't dare to approach Puffy while having the Southsiders around. Puffy would reserve seats and prepare tickets for them, to let them come to all their shows on the West Coast. They would meet up with them at the hotel, get the tickets and follow them wherever they wanted to go. Puffy's bodyguard Gene Deal would always see Zip, Keefe D, D-Mac and a couple of other Crips hanging out and gambling at the hotel, shooting dice. Keefe D used to ride in the same van as him, went to all the shows but didn't get paid for it. Only thing the Crips got from Puffy were tickets. It would always look like they're all together, moving as a team, as if the Crips had his back, even though they were just chess pieces to him. He didn't even think of paying them, or giving them jobs, so to speak. While the Crips, on the other hand, tried to show Puff that they can be reliable, trustworthy and loyal, so that they can be his security. They were backstage deep at most of those shows, ready to protect him, thinking they will get paid for it, when really all they got was some free tickets. When Suge had everybody in the music industry intimidated, Keefe D was one of the few people that felt like he was soft and didn't have a heart, because he knew him since he was a kid. Keefe D's people weren't scared or worried about him. To them they were quote-unquote Rudy Poos they had been fighting all their lives.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
I don't know that boy want to be black or you want to be Indian. I can't take that. Then you cross-eyed. Who the fuck edited these damn pictures? That boy like the water boy. My mama said.
Suge was in college hanging around rappers, punking rappers, CEOs and managers. But Keefe D felt like he couldn't punk real street dudes. He wasn't in the streets like that. He wasn't going to do what real street dudes would do. Keefe D and Puffy became very close. The Crips were always around him. Even when Puffy's mentor Andre Harrell was around. Hotel rooms full of Crips, drinking bottles, Puffy coming out the bathroom half naked, feeling comfortable around them, bending over in front of
Oh, hell no.
Oh my God!
You bending over and everything? Oh, y'all nigga weird. I know you fucking lying.
Everyone with nothing but a towel on. For Keefe D, Puffy was just a clown that may get everybody some easy cash and maybe even open doors for them in the future so that they can become part of the music industry. Cause Keefe D slowly started to regret not getting into the music business himself. Puffy was so scared that he hired ex-Navy SEALs wearing earpieces like they worked for the...
I want to see. I forgot what Keefe said about Puffy. I want to see. Keefe D. Before we go back to that one.
So, in the book, you said the third day after getting back from Vegas, you guys met up with Zip in L.A.
Oh, we fast forward. So we supposed to go. Oh no, we too far. We too far. We ain't there yet. Shit. Hold on, fast forward.
When they like, and that dude, a BGF, he ain't no Crip no more. Can't fuck with them dudes like that no more, dude. Like, damn, he said they ain't your homeboys no more, the Crips. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, damn. So prison, yeah. And back then, if you fuck with a homosexual, you just as gay as them, you know what I'm saying?
CIA in the hotel room right next to his suite. Keefe D and the Crips were laughing at him, because they felt like they could have easily killed him, as the security guy was quote-unquote playing by the books, while street cats don't. Puffy didn't want the gang members to hurt his public image and brand. Wanted them to operate in the background, while still looking professional to everyone else. Next time Puffy and Suge saw each other was 10 days after the Source Awards on August 13th, 1995. Zip had invited Keefe D to the Beat Summer Jam show at Irvin Meadows and took him through the VIP entrance where all the talent entered. Tretch from Naughty by Nature, Jodeci, Mary J. Blige, Junior Mafia, Biggie, Puffy, Faith Evans, Craig Mack, etc. Keefe D had his crew with him. They were about 20 to 30 deep, all up on the stage wearing Dallas Cowboys gear, drinking bottles and smoking weed. Keefe D spotted Suge Knight standing over to one side of the stage. He was quote-unquote looking jealous. Biggie had just dropped his hit single One More Chance, which topped the Hot R&B Hip-Hop Songs chart and peaked at number 2 on Billboard Hot 100. At the same time, it was the highest debuting single in the history of the Hot 100. along with Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson's song Scream, when it entered the chart at number 5. So Big was clearly on top of the game at that time. The East Coast was back on top. When Keefe D saw Suge out the corner of his eye, Suge gestured for him to come over to speak with him. "Keefe D, let me holler at you." "What's up, dog?" "Man, how you know them?" "Homie, the same way I know you." "The dope game. That's how I know him." That's when Suge understood what Puffy was trying to do. Getting a rival gang as his backup to get him under control, and to potentially start a gang war between the Southsiders and the Ma Piru. But as mentioned earlier, Suge and Keefe D were childhood friends. They both tried to not get in each other's way. That being said, Suge wasn't done with Puffy yet. He still tried to bully him on every show, whether it's on the East Coast, West Coast, or in the South. The next big incident occurred on September 23rd, 1995, when Ma Piru member Big Jake from Campanella Park was gunned down after attending the Platinum City Club, which is a nightclub based in Atlanta. It was actually Jermaine Dupri's birthday party. Both Suge and Puff were invited. Jake was there as a bodyguard for Suge. The two were homies. And Suge was of course there to intimidate and bully people, especially Puffy. As mentioned earlier, he was always showing up to parties and clubs that Puff was attending, to make him uncomfortable and to humiliate him. Puff claims that prior to this incident, he had met Suge at a nightclub called The Tunnel in New York, when Suge didn't have his people with him. Puff allegedly confronted him about the things he said at the Source Awards, and Suge supposedly denied that he was sending shots at him. He apparently meant Jermaine Dupri when he was making fun of record executives appearing in music videos, dancing in the background, or ad-libbing the songs. But why would Suge even come to Dupri's party if he really had a problem?
Hold on, Tiny. Hold on. Damn, Tiny is... First time I seen a little Tiny, a little cute, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the hell she look like. Oh, yeah.
With him. Dupri wasn't even aware that the two sides had beef. He invited both of them thinking everything is cool. And he himself said that it's very unlikely for Puff to approach a guy like Suge, saying that Puff most likely made the story up to make himself look more powerful and less like a weakling. Puff's side, on the other hand, claimed that Dupri actually got slapped at his own birthday party by Suge himself. And then you have other people saying that he tried to do the same to Puffy, who had his whole crew with him. Suge only had Big Jake on his side, but still had the courage to try to extort and humiliate him in front of everybody. They got into an argument and Puffy allegedly got slapped. Not only that, but Suge also performed a full Nelson on him, meaning he got behind Puffy and thrusted his arms under Puffy's arms, and clasped his hands behind Puffy's head. Held him like that for a few seconds to humiliate him in front of everybody. After the party was over, everyone left in peace, thinking Suge was just fooling around. But then they met again at the after party. According to Big Gip from the rap group Goody Mob, Puffy and his crew were inside the building when Suge arrived. Suge and Jake parked their car in front of the building and stepped out the vehicle. They were there for trouble even though they were clearly outnumbered and had no weapons on them. According to the eyewitness Big Gip, somebody from Diddy's camp said, "Yo, Suge pulled up." And everyone was surprised, saying, "Who?" And the guy then said, "Yeah, Suge pulled up. He's outside at the front door." Puffy and his entourage then immediately walked outside to see him, and what started as
No, long chat. Y'all can't see that shit. I'm gonna move this shit. Y'all see that? The fuck wrong with y'all? The fuck?
The friendly conversation developed into a huge argument with everybody yelling in the middle of the street late at night. Puffy then started drinking his champagne and somebody whispered something in his ear. Next thing you know, Jake is on the ground shot. That's Gibbs' side of the story. Puffy, on the other hand, told it differently. When he was asked in an interview about it, he seemed frustrated and confused. "Here's what happened," Puffy said. "I went to Atlanta with my son. At that time, there wasn't really no drama. I didn't even have bodyguards, so that's a lie that I did. Puffy is responding to the accusations that his bodyguards have shot Big Jake, saying that he didn't even have bodyguards with him that day in Atlanta. This can be easily disproven by the multiple eyewitnesses who have seen his bodyguards at the club. Jermaine Dupri, Jay Black, Suge, Big Gip, Wolf, they all said that Puffy's bodyguards were present that day. Maybe not bodyguards in a traditional sense, but street dudes from New York like Wolf who always kept an eye on him and protected him. According to Officer Greg Kading, there were also eyewitnesses that claimed to have seen the Southside Crip Orlando Anderson, wearing a blue powder jacket and standing there as additional security for Puffy. I mean, it wouldn't make sense for a guy like him to leave the city without anyone there to protect him. Even the people around him claimed that Puffy wasn't alone there. But let's continue with the statement. I left the club and I'm waiting for my limo, talking to girls. I don't see Suge go into the club. We don't make contact or nothing like that. Bad Boy insider Jay Black, on the other hand, said that him and Puff weren't trying to leave. They had just arrived and were about to enter the club, talking in the limo when someone knocked on the door, informing them about a fight. Yo, your man is in the club going crazy. Your man is in the club going crazy. So Jay Black and Puff jumped out the limo trying to get into the club. Suge then came out and they spoke to each other. He gets into a beef in the club with some people. I knew the majority of the club, but I don't know who he got into the beef with, what it was over, or nothing like
What's
that.
up, brother? Where you
All
been
I
at?
heard is that he took
How you
beef at the
doing,
bar.
brother?
I see people coming out. I see a lot of people that I know. I see him. And I see everybody yelling and screaming and ish. I get out the limo and I go to him like, "What's up? You alright?" I'm trying to see if I can help him. That's my mother effing problem. I'm always trying to see if I can help somebody. Anyways, I get out facing him and I'm like, "What's going on?"
You ain't trying to help nobody. Well, what about all them artists that was under you and shit? Day 21 and all them. You ain't trying to help them motherfuckers.
Stop the cap.
Justin Bieber.
What's the problem? Then I hear shots ringing out and we turn around and somebody's standing right behind me. His man, God bless the dead, gets shot and he's on the floor. My back was turned. I could have got shot. And he could have got shot.
Keep the grind on,
But right then he was
I
like,
appreciate you every time
"I
you
think
come
you had
through,
something to do with this." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I was standing right here with you." I really felt sorry for him. The sense that if he felt that way, he was showing me his insecurity. According to Jay Black, Big Jake was laying on the ground, and Suge was then in Puff's face yelling at him, "I'm going to get you. I'm going to do everything in my power to get you." Puff was all humble, saying, "Why? I had nothing to do with this." Suge then went to check on Jake, started shaking him, saying, "Don't worry about it, you gon' be aight." Then he turned back to Puffy and continued yelling. The shooting happened right at the front entrance, so everyone that started panicking inside the building had to find a different exit to escape. Someone jumped out of a window on the side of the building, but most people tried to escape through the back entrance, because again, the shooting happened at the front entrance. It was a melee, a lot of people were screaming and running, everything was out of control. Jay Black, the guy who came with Puffy, got locked up that night for stepping on the shell casings and for quote-unquote tampering with evidence. It is not clear who the shooter was, as nobody has been charged for the murder, and as there are conflicting statements by eyewitnesses. According to Suge's right-hand man, Mark James, Keefe D, Haitian Jack, and basically 99% of the people who have spoken on it, the person who shot Big Jake was a man named Anthony Jones, aka Wolf, who was one of Puffy's bodyguards from New York, his right-hand man and muscle, and Puffy was standing right there when it happened, denying that he had bodyguards. Suge was trying to push up on Puffy, but neither him nor Big Jake had guns on them. According to Dupri, they were inside at first, but got outside before things started to escalate. Puff and Suge, quote-unquote, got into a screaming match. Dupri said he saw Wolf shoot multiple times. A few seconds later, Jake was on the ground, and everybody scattered and left the party. He didn't say that Wolf was the one who actually killed him, only confirmed that Puffy's bodyguard was present, and that he was one of the people that reached for their guns to shoot. According to Puffy's bodyguard Gene Deal, it wasn't actually Wolf who shot and killed him. He did shoot, but he wasn't the one who killed him. He said the story was made up to make the East Coast-West Coast war bigger than it already was. Wolf himself allegedly...
I'm gonna find out. Let's go see what Gene said. That nigga funny as hell. I ain't know. Oh, here you go.
Okay, so that situation happened.
Right.
And then a bit after that, in Atlanta, Suge's best friend, Big Jake, gets killed in a club.
Right.
And this part's kind of fuzzy, but there was a rumor that Wolf was the one that did it. Puffy got blamed for it, and so forth. But I guess Wolf wasn't the one who did it, but still there was some sort of blame that Suge had on Bad Boy over that situation, right?
I don't know if Suge had blamed Bad Boy for that, because the situation never came, when I got with him, the situation never came to us like that. Now, I've heard Wolf talk about it, and Wolf told me personally that he didn't do it. And I know everybody knew the guy who did it. It was this dude, he's dead now. He got killed in Atlanta about 2 or 3 years ago. His father was from the Bronx and he owned the cleaners. Now, did Wolf and them know him? Yeah, they probably knew him. He was from the Bronx, his part of town. His father owned the cleaners. They knew this guy. You understand? Him and Jake was arguing over this chick or whatever. Now, did Wolf do it? How could Wolf do it when he was next to Suge? He was right next to Suge when Jake got killed. But everybody want to say Wolf did it because that glamorized the situation.
Okay, that's what Gene said.
Denied being responsible for Big Jake's death, saying that he had no reason to do it. Deal said that the guy who actually killed him was a man named Jason from Brooklyn, who was one of Diddy's closest friends. He allegedly aimed at both Jake and Suge, but Suge got away. Wolf was apparently cool with Jason and Suge. Standing right next to them, Gene Deal called Jermaine Dupri a liar, who wasn't actually there when the shooting happened, cause Suge Knight had slapped him and Puffy at the same birthday party. So Dupri was upstairs with Dallas Austin and didn't come down to see Suge. But Gene Deal wasn't there either.
Ain't no way the fuck out. You got slapped at your birthday party. It's crazy. So Dev.
He got his information from Wolf.
Bow Wow now.
He said Jason and Big Jake were arguing about a woman named Nicole, who was from the West Coast. Jake and Suge made fun of her and said, "Oh, you sucking them East Coast people's D's now?" They were talking crazy to her right next to her boyfriend Jason, who then got mad and waited for Jake to come outside. And that's when he supposedly shot him. Jake was conscious on his way to the hospital, but he unfortunately passed away a week later. Suge, members of Mob Piru, and everyone from Death Row blamed Puffy for it. After the shooting, people on both coasts began speculating. Would there be retribution? All-out war? According to a New York Times magazine cover story, Puffy sent Louis Farrakhan's son, Mustafa, to talk with Suge. "If there's anything you can do to put an end to this BS, I'm with it." Puffy later denied sending him. The Times reported that Suge refused to meet with Mustafa. Suge had declined to speak about his friend's murder. Less than 2 weeks later, when the How Can I Be Down rap conference in Miami took place, the heat was on. Suge, who has never concealed his past affiliations with LA's Notorious Bloods, was rumored to be coming with an army. Puffy was said to be bringing a massive group of New York thugs and drug lords. When the conference came and Puffy did not attend, Billboard reported that it was due to threats from Death Row. Then on October 12, 1995, which is less than 3 weeks after the shooting, Tupac, the guy who Suge wanted to bring back to destroy Puffy and the label Bad Boy, was released from the Clinton.
Hold on, they let a real one out. I know they let my boy out now.
Another one.
Give me a hell yeah.
Give him 2 on.
Give me a hell yeah.
One more.
Give me a hell yeah.
I just had to do this shit real chit chat. Ain't gonna lie.
Correctional facility in New York after serving 8 months in prison on abuse charges. Following the release, he signed to Suge's label Death Row-Crip and became heavily involved in the growing East Coast-West Coast hip-hop rivalry. Pac was already labeled a thug and gangster before his release from prison, but signing to Death Row amplified it to the point where everything got out of control. Pac and Death Row together were like fire and gas.
You think that Tupac downfall would join him on Death Row? Y'all think that would lead to his downfall?
He started dissing Puffy, the Notorious B.I.G., and everyone associated to the label Bad Boy Records, while outshining them success-wise, selling more records than any rapper on the East Coast. He became the #1.
Another one.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hey, don't that make him king of New York, right? He from New York now. You know what I'm saying?
Give me a hell yeah.
I just had to slide it in there. Oh no.
Rap artist in the world after dethroning the quote-unquote King of New York, which was a title specifically created for the Notorious B.I.G., who had taken over the game while Tupac was in prison. I will cover their beef in detail in a separate video. Pac was just filled with rage, hate and anger due to the shooting on November 30th, 1994 at the Quad Studios in New York, where Tupac got shot 5 times by 3 assailants from Brooklyn. I covered this incident in detail and broke it down from all angles in my previous video called The Reason Why Tupac Got Shot 5 Times. You should definitely check it out, because that shooting explains some of the decisions Tupac made after his release from prison. It explains why Tupac accused Biggie and Puffy of knowing the shooters, and them not wanting to reveal who's responsible even though they are friends. Especially after they purposefully released the song Who Shot Ya just a couple of months after the shooting. So for Tupac, it wasn't just a regular rap beef. He feared for his life and needed people like Suge and the Mob Piru around him to feel safe. But Suge also needed Pac to get Death Row back on top, so they both benefited from each other.
For the dude that, that dude come here. For the dude that said Snoop Dogg goddamn was running goddamn Death Row, even when Tupac though, you a goddamn lie. Stop the motherfucking cap.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
I had to say that one time, cause I had to argue with that motherfucker. Said Snoop Dogg goddamn was carrying goddamn Death Row. I know you fucking lying.
I can tell that Pac was down, but you can tell he never had no real love, like no real homie love. He ain't never had no homies. If it's really gonna be tight, you're gonna need a family. And at that point,
what interview is this?
We was a family.
Why would I set a...
What interview was that? Hold on, we gotta find that shit. I'm gonna find that shit. Suge Knight. I wanna find that one. Damn. What fucking interview is that? Yeah, if y'all know, let me know. I wanna find that one. I have to find it. I'll find it. Fuck Ray J. Ray J be in everything. How you find that one in?
A guy up to get shot, Puffy said. If I'ma set a guy up, which I would never do, I ain't gonna be in the country. I'ma be in Bolivia or somewhere. He ain't mad at the people that shot him. He knows where they're at. He knows who shot him. If you ask me, he knows. And everybody in the street knows. And he's not stepping to them. Because he knows he's not gonna get away with it.
I'm the only one that thought Tupac was on death row for some years. Then before I found out, you know what I'm saying, actually went on, I thought Tupac was on there for some years, bro. 11 months. God damn.
To me, that's some real sucker-ish. Be mad at everybody, man. Don't be using people as scapegoats. We know that he's a nice guy from New York. All ish aside, Tupac is a nice, good-hearted guy. Puffy basically admitted that he knows who shot him. Pac felt like the friends that were with him during the robbery stabbed him in the back, after allowing the 3 assailants to rob and shoot him. He didn't get any help from Puff and Big either. When he came to LA and joined Death Row, he found a new family to support and strengthen him. People that wouldn't, quote-unquote, drop like a sack of potatoes when he needs help. That's how he described the people that were with him during the shooting. Death Row and the Mob Piru welcomed him with open arms, took him under their wing like a little brother, gave him support, protection, confidence, and everything he ever wanted from the thug life movement he had created years ago. He had already deaded that movement by the time he got out of jail. Started to surround himself with real gangsters and gang members while going to war.
Hell no. Stop the cap.
Stop the cap.
Stop the cap. Dr. Dre, hell no. Snoop Dogg, hell no. Suge, hell no.
Stop the cap.
This only probably the only gangster that was in goddamn Death Row. I ain't gonna lie. My boy NCM. They say NCM about that, boy. You know what I'm saying? They say NCM about this shit. Yeah, Interscope was hating on Tupac though. They kept releasing his songs and everything. I mean, his songs, giving it to Death Row and goddamn Puffy, you know.
Or with the people who quote-unquote set him up or knew about the setup. Puffy, Biggie, Bad Boy Records, the people who shot him, those who plotted the shooting, and also the people involved in the assault case he had to deal with for the past few years. Cause he felt like everything was a setup. Pac came out on October 12th, and 6 days later, on October 18th, Faith Evans, the wife of the Notorious B.I.G., came to LA. She went out with some friends to the Hollywood Athletic Club and met Tupac and Treach from Naughty by Nature. Faith didn't know much about Pac at the time. Didn't know that he had just signed to
Stop the cap.
Death Row. Didn't know about his beef with Biggie or who he was cool with. Soon as they greeted each other, a photographer came and took pictures. Tupac then went out to smoke and saw Faith leave the building. He then yelled across the parking lot, "Y'all leaving?" And Faith yelled back saying no. Pac then said, "Cause we about to go back to my hotel room. What y'all gonna do?" And Faith said, "We gonna follow you." That night, Faith went to Tupac's hotel room. The next day, on the 19th, they recorded the song Wonder Why They Call You B for Tupac's upcoming album with Faith on the hook. People saw Faith sit on Tupac's lap while they were spending time in the studio. Natasha Walker said she saw Faith's legs between Tupac's legs. And the night after the studio session, according to multiple people that were close to Tupac at the time, the two had sex together in Tupac's hotel room. There are witnesses like Drew Down, who was actually present at the hotel, and has seen them walk into the room. Drew Down actually opened the door for them. Faith, however, denies that any of this happened. What she did reveal in her book, however, was that Tupac more or less pressured her into performing oral sex on him to get paid for the song Wonder Why They Call You B. Cause Pac and Faith met again on November 14th, 1995 at the Waiting to the Exhale soundtrack release party in LA, and that's when he supposedly pressured her. But people from Pac's camp denied that the two went home or to a hotel together that day. Pac also found a way to get back at Puffy by telling Suge Knight to do the same to Puffy's baby mama Misa Hilton, with whom Puffy had his first son Justin. Pac told Suge to sleep and take pictures with her, so that both Puffy and Biggie get ridiculed by the media and get hit where it hurts the most. Suge Knight and Misa Hilton had a relationship from October to November 95, and even after that he used to fly her out together with her son over to LA to humiliate Puffy. They slept together on numerous occasions, got seen together at the Parker Meridian Hotel in New York City. According to DJ Quick, Suge had Misa come over to his room. Quick asked him, "Suge, what are you doing? Like, what the F? That's Diddy's baby mama." They even did it at Tupac's house when Pac had Mary J. Blige with him, who, by the way, is another artist that worked closely with Puffy. Pac slept with Mary J. Blige in one room and Suge with Misa Hilton in the other, at the same time.
Yeah, the same. What Mary J? Well, I ain't never seen Mary J talk about Tupac. I gotta know. The nigga bullet hit Hollywood when everyone was getting. Damn, hold on, that's a good ass question, brother. I know you motherfucking lying. Oh yeah, that's a hell nah right there.
Oh my God, bro. Oh hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on, boy. You get your goddamn ugly ass.
On numerous occasions. Pac later complained and joked about Mary's bad smell in the intimate area. Him and Suge were doing everything they could to emasculate and belittle Puffy and Biggie,
how you doing?
rubbing it into their faces and showing them that they can get away with it. They were trying to drive them crazy and to provoke a response, which they ended up getting months later. Pac and Suge shared a common interest. They both wanted to confront him and find out if he's really involved with the shootings. The one at the Quad Studios and the one where Big Jake got murdered. Suge and the other Ma Piru members indirectly held Puffy responsible for the murder. Tupac, on the other hand, accused Puffy of withholding information about the shooters and masterminds behind the Quad Studio incident, thinking he would have already told him about it if he wasn't cool with those people or wasn't part of the whole setup. So both Suge and Pac had a reason to hate him. The first time Pac got confronted by Keefe and the Southsiders was around the time he released the song California Love.
How you doing?
Pac had a line on there that upset the Southsiders. He rapped, "Recognized from Long Beach to Rosecrans." Some of the Crips had a problem with that line because Pac was referring to the areas around Long Beach Boulevard and Rosecrans Avenue in Compton.
What is it? What is it? No. Do y'all see this shit? I don't see that shit. I see East.
Which is the territory of the Ma Piru, the gang that Suge and most people working for Death Row were affiliated with. Rivals of the Southsiders and the people that Puffy wanted to keep in check. Some of the Southsiders were up at the House of Blues on Sunset, to which Tupac as well as Big Syke, aka Mussolini, and the Outlaws, which was Tupac's group at the time, were walking to. They walked through a path in the street that had both sides barricaded. You had Tupac fans standing on both sides yelling and hollering that they loved him. But there was a gang-affiliated woman who was cursing him. She said, "You ain't nothing. Get out of here, you mark buster. You ain't nobody out here." Napoleon from the Outlaws, who was around 18 at the time, was upset about it and yelled back at her. "What? Pac, you not gonna say nothing?" Pac remained quiet and just ignored her. But Napoleon felt like he had to do something about it. So he started cursing back and making spitting gestures towards her. Then, according to Napoleon, two quote-unquote humongous black brothers came out of nowhere on both sides. They stood up, and to Napoleon it seemed like they just kept getting bigger and bigger. He himself was the shortest guy in Tupac's crew, so of course he felt intimidated. The two men looked like straight killers, according to Napoleon. They then started walking towards them. Napoleon became scared because they were both about twice his size. But he couldn't show fear in front of Tupac, especially after instigating the fight. Big Syke, who was one of the original members of Tupac's group Thug Life, then stepped in their way and held them back.
I know they feeling, bro.
He talked to them to calm down the situation. Syke was a member of the Imperial Village Crips in Inglewood, California. The Crips respected him, and that's why they could talk it out. Napoleon could see them talking and nodding. Syke kept pointing at him and the two kept staring. Tupac then told Napoleon that he should go easy on her because she's a woman. "Just follow my lead, player. Don't do nothing dumb like that again or you gon' get us killed out here. This the West Side, Moo. It ain't Irving." Moo is short for Mutar, Napoleon's real name. He understood that Pac really wanted the best for him, school him on things that weren't worth wasting energy on, and that being real doesn't mean being dumb. Big Syke then walked back to Pac and Napoleon kinda heated, looked at Napoleon and said to Pac, "You better control your little homie." Those were some big-time rollin' 60s OG Crip killers. And that was their sister. Be careful who women you disrespect out here. But Keefe D, who claims to have been present that day, told the story differently, saying that it got physical before Psych could step in.
I don't believe nothing.
And he also said that the Crips there were not rollin' 60s, but Southsiders. He said his homie named Oldie went up and grabbed Tupac by the collar and pushed him against the wall, saying, "You know what that Long Beach and Rosecrans stands for? That's the wrong side, mother F," referring to the line on California Love. And that's when Big Psych came in his account. He said, "Nah, homie, he's just rapping on a song, homie. He don't know what's going on out here in these neighborhoods." So
do y'all believe that happened? Do y'all believe that they did that to Tupac? Y'all believe that shit happened? No, so I don't never believe Keefe did what he got going on anyway, so let me know if y'all believe that right there.
They let him go. Pac always got protection from gang members around him, whether it was Bloods or Crips, cause he had friends from both gangs. According to Daz Dillinger, who was also signed to Death Row, Tupac claimed Crip when he was with Thug Life from 93 to 94. He had Rated R and Macadocious in his group, who were both rollin' 40s Crips, and also Big Psych, who, like I mentioned earlier, was a member of the Imperial Village Crips. He also was close with Warren G, Daz Dillinger, Nate, and Snoop Dogg, who were all rollin' 20s Crips. Also Corrupt, rollin' 60s, the list goes on and on. Pac later had a falling out with almost everyone on this list, including Big Psych, who had kept an eye on him this whole time. Pac wanted to sign him to Machiavelli Records and wanted him to stay away from Suge and Death Row, but instead he tried to get signed there, ignoring Tupac's offer, and that's why they had a falling out. Pac told his bodyguard Frank Alexander to not let him get near him. He refused to talk to him, and not just him, almost every Crip friend he had. Instead, he got closer and closer to the Mob Piru, people like Trayvon Lane and Suge Knight, who wanted to make him an official member of the gang. Pac tattooed the acronym MOB on his inner right upper arm. The acronym stands for two things according to Tupac himself: money over B, and also money, organization, and business. He referenced it on numerous songs he recorded after coming out of jail. Like for example on Blasphemy, Hit 'Em Up, Changed Man, Worldwide Mob Figures, MOB, the list goes on and on.
Pac wearing a red flag, you know what I'm saying, the right pocket, you know, so Pac like this. I'm on some MOB station, I'm on a red rag, so bam, they put a red rag on Pac. Who's that in the G-Rod screaming out MOB, working we ride? So you say MOB, that's the mob. Cause we mob on the and you know we keeping money over MOB. He banged that like you a banger mother. Name was Pac didn't put
he said money over bitches though.
Pac was really with that shit. I'm slowly like Jodeci and stick me in my eye. I don't live and die for MOB. So catch it wicked worldwide. I make a far figure West Coast who ride.
I see Biggie throwing up this. Biggie don't know nothing about no gang signs. Why that nigga keep throwing up gang signs?
People to this day are still unsure if MOB was more than just an acronym that Tupac created. Cause MOB or mob can also mean mafia, a criminal organization, an acronym for members of Bloods, a reference to the Mob Piru. You can't make songs and
do y'all think Tupac down them? Like down the Bloods, y'all? Let me know. Y'all think he was down with? I don't think he was down because he had friends. They like he said earlier, he had friends with both sides. I think Tupac was smart not to get down with them motherfuckers. You know, that's my opinion.
Call yourself mob or any other gang name without gang members confronting you about it. So the Mob Piru members associated with Death Row knew what he was doing and were fine with it. Some say he got that tattoo to get the Mob Piru on his side, basically as an army to ride with him in his wars. Cause Pac felt like the whole world was against him. He was in the middle of the East Coast-West Coast war. Suge, a Mob Piru member, got him out of jail and basically gave him a second chance in life. Cause his career would have been over if he had spent 4.5 years in prison. So it could have also been loyalty towards Suge. While Tupac had the Mob Piru around him as security, Puffy relied on the Southside Crips, meaning Keefe D and his people. Pac not only became part of Suge's bloody war with Puffy, in which close associates and Ma Piru members like Big Jake got killed by one of Puffy's associates, which made them want to retaliate, but the Southsiders around Puff were also beefing with the Piru on the West Coast. So Pac was thrown into a war that he couldn't even understand or comprehend. He went from beefing with rappers and music executives to gang wars, living a life that he never lived. He didn't grow up in gangs and ended up making mistakes due to his inexperience. The war.
I seen it though. I'm gonna make sure it's real. Yeah, I always show that same that. I didn't know you had that tattoo. Trust nobody? This crib will not been over in 4 years. Pockets. That's what I'm saying. No, I said, what the fuck you talking about? That nigga would have came at. But you know how many songs he would have had if he would have did that shit? He been right on. He been dropping album back to back albums. Damn, that's a hard ass tattoo right there. I ain't gonna lie. Damn, he made me want to get that shit tatted. Yeah, that motherfucker hard right there. I ain't gonna lie. I'm trying to find the MOV though. This the only one I see. Got Outlaws, Jesus Cross, burning, Panther Head. Damn, now I just put two together. That Panther we had, that means stand for Black Panther. Damn, I just realized that shit. Okay, I guess this the real Tupac. MOB.
Wolves that Pac and Puffy had around them as security and backup were fighting a bloody war that Tupac couldn't get out of. He more or less got dragged into a gang war without being a real gang member. Things got worse day by day. It wasn't just a normal hip-hop rivalry anymore. On December 15th, just 3 months after Big Jake's murder, there was another incident that changed the relationship between Puffy and Suge forever. Death Row-Records was having a Christmas party at home in the Hollywood Hills. And a record promoter from New York named Mark Anthony Bell, who went to high school with Puffy and was now an A&R on the East Coast, decided to attend the party. He had done work for Death Row approximately 30 times, so he already had a history with Suge and the label. One of Bell's friends had been hired as a photographer for the party, and Bell wanted to go there too, but he didn't have a ticket. So, together with his friend, the photographer, they went up to the offices of Death Row during the afternoon of the party, and due to the fact that they had worked together about 30 times, Mark Bell was allowed to get in. On his previous visit to LA, just a few weeks after Big Jake's death, Mark Bell had been approached in the lobby of that same building, after meeting with Death Row to inquire about work. As he was leaving through the lobby, a Death Row employee handed him a type of written note asking him to reveal any information on Puffy, his family or associates. He was instructed to reply on the note and then to simply drop it on the floor, and Bell apparently refused to do so. Now fast forward to the Death Row Christmas party on December 15th. Mark Bell and his friend arrived in front of the building at around 10:30 at night. His friend then went to take some pictures at the party. At around 2 a.m., Suge Knight arrived with his Ma Piru entourage. Tupac and his mother Afeni Shakur were present that night as well. While Suge was making the rounds, he encountered Bell and asked him why he didn't cooperate previously, referring to the note that he ignored a month and a half ago. Suge then told him, "You didn't want to cooperate. I'm a man of my word, and I do what I say." Bell then told Suge that he didn't know anything, and that he didn't have any information on where Puffy stayed when he came to LA, cause Suge and his people wanted to pay Puffy a visit at his West Coast home, and approach him while he's in Suge's territory, so to speak. Mark Bell then told Suge that Puffy had an office in Manhattan, and that he could get the phone number from the phone company and that anyone could call him directly. Suge then got annoyed and wanted to continue the conversation somewhere else, somewhere where there are no witnesses. He told him to come upstairs to the VIP room where they could finish their conversation, and Mark Bell made the mistake to follow him, not knowing.
You already know what they about to go do.
Knowing what would await him there. He had no idea that Puffy and Suge were in the middle of a deadly war. The people in the VIP room supposedly included a photographer for the New York Times, someone from MTV, and various other media people, and also Bell's friend that he had arrived with, who immediately noticed that something was wrong, asking Bell if everything is alright, and Bell then said yes while giving him a bad look. Suge had his brother-in-law Norris Anderson throw everyone out the VIP room, and then stand outside the door. Left in the room with Mark Bell were allegedly Suge Knight, Tupac Shakur, Dr. Dre, a man with gold teeth, and two other men which were all Mob Piru members. Suge pulled out a chair in the middle of the room and told Bell to have a seat. He then pulled up another chair and sat right in front of him. He then started questioning him about Puffy and why he didn't cooperate with him previously. Mark Bell again told him that he didn't want to get involved. Suge then asked him about Puffy's parents and where his mother lives, how he can find Puffy's office. Mark Bell claims that Tupac would whisper into Suge's ear, who then would ask more questions. The man with the gold teeth was acting hyper and would come up to Bell and hit him in the side of the face, while yelling, "This is for the person who died. We're going to kill you." He allegedly hit him 3 times. With the person who died, he obviously referred to Big Jake, whose death Suge and the Mob Piru blamed on Puffy. Mark Bell would constantly hear them saying, "That was our homie that died. He got beaten with fists and bottles that night." Suge told him that he's going to have to deliver Puffy. During the beating, Pac also said that Bell is lying about not knowing where Puffy is. One of Suge's men then said, "I could kill you now if Suge says so." Suge then went to the bathroom and returned with a glass of urine, which he tried to make Bell drink. He handed it over to Bell, who then held it in his hands, not knowing what to do, nervous and scared to death. The man with the gold teeth then hit him in his face again, which made him drop the glass of urine. He was in fear for his life and broke for the balcony, hoping he could jump to safety or maybe someone would see him. The whole group immediately chased and grabbed him at the guardrail before he could get over it. Suge was on his left side grabbing his shoulder and leg. Pac was on the right side and hitting him on his neck. The other people were hitting him from behind and trying to get him off the guardrail. Mark Bell held on for about 30 seconds before they finally pulled him off. But lucky for him, even though he didn't make it over the guardrail, the gambit worked because downstairs his friend the photographer saw him, quote unquote, spread out on the balcony, and he also saw Tupac making a stabbing motion at Bell, who later claimed that Pac was hitting him on his neck.
Who the fuck any damn bitch?
While they were trying to drag him back inside, Suge came back outside to make it seem like he's straightening out a Christmas tree. A second person then came to help him. The photographer understood that Bell's life was in danger. He left the party, took the car, and went down the hill. He stopped after seeing a police car, told the officers that his friend was at the Death Row party, and that Suge was trying to squeeze him for information. Interesting how he knew about Suge's motives just by seeing him on the balcony. Him and Mark Bell had probably already talked about the incident that happened a month and a half ago. He also told the officers that they were stabbing him, told them that Bell was going to be killed. The cops then drove in the direction he came from. He didn't know where to take the car, but he made several phone calls to New York, informing people about what happened. Meanwhile, back in the VIP room, the altercation turns into a full-on beatdown. They drug him towards the door, where everyone was hitting and kicking him, and throwing things at him. Suge then said, "Body blows only." The man with the gold teeth then put Bell in a chokehold for approximately 2 minutes, saying, "This is for a friend that died." Bell apparently tried to jump off the balcony numerous times, but they pulled him back in and continued.
Nigga, how you try to jump out? How the fuck? You better leap over that motherfucker. You talking about shit, you ain't gonna die. Let me see. Yeah, you been straight. Yeah, that's good at. Yeah, you can get straight head first and get the fuck on. Or you leave jump on that window. I'll jump on that damn window right here. If I was that damn scared, I'll jump on that window right here. Then boom, hit that motherfucker right there. You know what I'm saying?
At one point, while he was still in a chokehold, he almost passed out and decided to play dead. Someone removed his watch from his left wrist, and he also lost his gold chain, which was torn off. He also noticed that they stole his wallet and diamond earring. Altogether, about $30,000 worth of items and cash were taken off of him. They then backed off and allowed him to stand up. Suge suddenly acted like the beating never happened and offered him money, saying, "If you come over to our side, I'll make you rich. You can be a part of this team. I can make you rich. Do you want to make $500,000 or $1 million? Do you have friends that could deliver?" Meaning, do you know somebody that could tell us where we can find Puffy? Suge walked him to the bathroom and told...
I ain't gonna lie. Suge, you kind of obsessed with Puffy. I'm gonna say y'all was obsessed with each other. I ain't gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? You know, people died behind this shit. You know what I'm saying? But even before that, y'all was obsessed with each other. You know what I'm saying?
Told him to clean himself up. Mark Bell then heard people talking on portable radios, meaning the cops had arrived. Suge then said, "If you want your jewelry back, call me tomorrow, and we'll talk about it." The man with the gold teeth then asked Suge, "Should I do him?"
Who's the man with the
And
gold
Suge
teeth,
responded, "He's good." The man then came up to Bell and said, "You're lucky that he said you were good." Suge then told everyone to clean up the room. Bell washed his face, and Suge told his brother-in-law to not let him leave until he's cleaned up. Afterwards, Suge's people left one by one. When Bell was allowed to leave and came downstairs, he met a female...
Phone, you ain't jump out no window.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now.
You gonna take the ass with him? Shit, fuck it. If not, if I was that damn scared and I'm trying to jump out the balcony, I'm gonna goddamn jump out that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
Police officer who said, "Are you Mark? Your friend was worried about your life, thinking something happened to you." Suge and his people were only 10 feet away, and he still feared for his safety. So he told the officer that everything is alright. She saw his bloody lip and the scratches on his neck, so she asked, "Did you fall down?" And he said yes, asking her if she can call a cab for him. All he wanted to do was to get away from the location. The cab arrived and he left. Everyone else continued partying. Bell then flew back to New York and received multiple calls on his pager with the code 187, which is the California Penal Code for murder. So he interpreted those calls as threats by Suge and his people. He provided a photo of one of his assailants taken at the party.
I hate the Tupac got involved in this shit. That's the only thing I hate about the shit. Like, I just hate Tupac got involved with the shit. Type shit. All the gang members in this shit. All type of shit. For real.
On which he is throwing up gang signs. Mark Bell told everyone that the people who attacked him were members of the Mob Piru. And so of course word got back to Puffy that Suge was taking those measures, going to that extreme, to try to find out where his home is. And that's of course gonna put you on your heels. No wonder Puffy became paranoid back then. The following day, on December 16th, 1995, Snoop Dogg and the Dogg Pound were in New York to shoot a music video for the song New York, New York, off the Dogg Pound's debut album Dog Food. The video set was fired upon after New Yorkers felt they were being disrespected. Like, why the hell are you coming to our city when you're dissing us? But the music video was originally going to be a dedication to New York prior to the shooting. They wanted to pay homage and make peace. The notorious B.I.G. called up the Hot 97 radio station with Funkmaster Flex and instigated that incident. According to Snoop Dogg, Biggie was the one who called the shots on him, cause they went to see Funkmaster Flex earlier that day to show love and respect to New York, and to say, DPG, we're here shooting a video. We need all you New York rappers to come F with us. Cause we love y'all. We're shooting a video at Times Square. We're shooting at Red Hook. Come get down with us. That's what Snoop and the Dog Pound wanted to say on the radio. But Funkmaster Flex wouldn't let them in. They headed to the video shoot, and then Biggie called Hot 97 to speak to Flex and everyone listening. On air, he said, there's a Tupac Dog Pound video in Red Hook, Brooklyn. Brooklyn, stand up. How dare they come out here and record a video dissing New York? The situation between them was so heated at the time that he didn't care about the consequences of those comments, calling for action as the voice of Brooklyn while the entire city is listening. He might have done it out of anger towards Tupac, when he wasn't even there. But according to Death Row head of security Reggie Wright Jr., Biggie did that because he was mad at Snoop and the Dog Pound, after they quote-unquote stole the beat of a Sanites commercial and used it to create a West Coast classic.
I know you're thinking, well, goddamn, what he drinking? The cookie letter. No other beer feel better.
Snoop Dogg and the Dog Pound were shooting the video in the snow in front of the bricks, and by the time they got back to the trailer, someone was shooting at it. Luckily, none of them got hit. The Death Row bodyguard Frank Alexander got them out of there safe. Snoop and the Dog Pound were scared like quote-unquote little bees, according to Frank and Reggie Wright. Snoop said that him and the Dog Pound weren't really close with Suge and his entourage. They quote-unquote weren't really a part of all the gangster-ish that they were doing. And it makes sense as they were Crips, while Suge and his people were Mob Piru members. Tupac and Suge found out about the incidents and were now even more upset. Sending people to kill the artists on the other side is a line that they hadn't crossed yet. People on Death Row were using intimidation tactics. They never sent shooters. All they did was surprise them at shows, sleep with their baby mamas, and maybe slap a few people around. For them, Puffy was the evil guy. Accused them of knowing the people that shot Tupac, of killing Big Jake in Atlanta, and of sending people to kill Snoop and the Dog Pound. So it became more and more serious day by day. Both sides were now expecting their enemies to do it again. Catch the other side off guard.
Dog Pound, y'all looking soft right now. Y'all looking soft right now, Dog Pound.
Send people to attack their artists, or people associated with them. Put out hits on people.
They say, hold on, you say they claim Death Row to be cool. I'd be on there for real if they jump me.
Ambush them the first chance they get. So the inhibition threshold reached a minimum on both sides. The question was, who will fold under the pressure and cross the line first? And how will the other side respond? Snoop and the Dog Pound didn't really see Bad Boy as their enemies. At least not to the same level as Suge and Pac. They did throw a few jabs here and there on songs, and in the music video for New York, New York, for example, which they ended up...
You ain't see them an enemy. The motherfucker they made somebody come shoot y'all.
Up completing over in LA, adding the scenes of them kicking over the buildings, but unlike Suge and Pac, they never wanted anyone to get hurt or harmed in any way. Cause 3 months after the shooting, Snoop actually met Biggie in Atlanta at a hotel. He went there with Daz Dillinger from the Dog Pound, who was greeted by Lil C's, who then brought them to Biggie's hotel room, after Snoop told him that he wants to holler at him. Big opened the door and gave them a hug. They smoked some weed together.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on.
What y'all think, chat? Y'all think Snoop Dogg was traded for doing that? What y'all think? Snoop Dogg traded for doing that, making up with Biggie and them after people shot at him and everything? You know what I'm saying? Let me know. Y'all let me know.
And Snoop confronted him about the shooting in Red Hook, Brooklyn. Big couldn't say anything to justify his actions. Snoop said, "I know you caught that shot on me. They missed. I forgive you." Snoop felt like no one got hit, so he let it go. They would have probably felt different about it if Snoop and the Dog Pound were actually Mob Piru members. Pac was all about that loyalty, so he basically absorbed and took everyone's beef onto himself. He was there when his Pyru friends needed help, and he was also there for all the Crips on his team. The Crips on Death Row didn't really want to get involved. When Snoop went back to LA and told Tupac about it, he was confused on how he could forgive them like that. Cause remember, Pac thought Big and Puff knew who shot him, and didn't tell him on purpose. They blamed Big Jake's death on them as well. And they almost got Snoop and the Dog Pound killed. First thing Pac said to Snoop was, F them people. Snoop felt like Pac had the right to say that.
I can understand that, but you can't betray you gangster and shit. Like, bro, come on now. You want to be peaceful, but you betray you a gangster and you be gang banging and you do all this and shit. Like, come on. You can't play both sides now. Well, he did play both sides. I ain't gonna lie. But y'all know what I'm saying. Like that. I thought you about that, man. I don't know, me growing up, you know what I'm saying? I thought you about that. You know what I'm saying?
How the F you ain't tripping when people try to kill you? You ain't tripping when people try to shoot you? And they try to do me? Homie, you went soft after that murder case. Referring to the murder case Snoop beat on February 21st, 1996. Pac wanted his revenge even more now. Snoop and the Dog Pound flew to New York in peace and got that type of treatment. So Pac and Suge wanted to return the favor and make it impossible for Puffy and Biggie to come to LA without getting in trouble. But before that, they actually met the guy who Puffy hired to keep them in check. Keefe D, member of the Southsiders. It was at the Mike Tyson-Frank Bruno fight on March 16th, 1996. Pac, Suge and the whole Death Row entourage went to Las Vegas to see the fight. According to Keefe D, he met Suge Knight right when he came out. Said he was waiting for his car at the valet and saw Suge, who jumped out his Rolls Royce to greet him. They shook hands and exchanged words. "What's up, big dog? What you doing?" Suge said. According to Keefe D, they had a friendly and peaceful conversation, as if they're friends. The next time they saw Biggie and Puffy was at the...
My thing is for him. Motherfuckers shooting at you and shit, you gonna forgive him? I need to know, twin. Motherfuckers shoot at you, you gonna forgive him? Even though you ain't get hit, you gonna forgive him? Fuck that shit. That just me. I'm like, man, fuck that. He try to goddamn, man. The folks try to goddamn light me up. Hell no. Fuck that shit.
Soul Train Awards in LA on March 29th. This was Suge's territory. And they wanted Bad Boy to get a taste of their own medicine. After what happened to Snoop and the Dog Pound in New York.
Be careful, homie. All you fake friend ass, you got to be careful because it's very dangerous out here. You could do that little set me up in the studio in New York, but in California, that's where the G's ride.
Suge bought 60 tickets for Ma Pyru members to come to the show. Keefe D and the Southside Crips were there too, but they weren't sitting with any of the members from Bad Boy. None of the gang members were allowed to come on stage or accompany the artist on their way in or out that building through the back door. Keefe D didn't even see Puffy that day, cause they wouldn't even have allowed him to be on stage or to leave and enter the building through the back door, where all the artists go through. So Puffy's plan was to go on stage, perform, get the awards and get out as fast as possible, cause his safety couldn't be guaranteed. It had gotten that serious. It was said that Biggie was in charge of opening up the show on stage. Suge and Pac got mad at that and wanted to open up the show themselves as they're from the West Coast. But they weren't allowed to do so. Suge wanted his 50 men to rush that stage and carry Biggie out.
My boy phone want to be a damn pastor today. I don't know what you got going on, twin. You know what I'm saying? Man, you said Snoop shit. Me, we be beefing to that. Okay, bet. Oh, okay. Hey, bro. Hey, do your Twitch goddamn be? It be stopping and shit. It be saying like the internet era or some shit. Twitch be hating on me, bro. I be on YouTube. They be hating on me, bro. They do my stream like that every time.
Sides, but they were late and didn't actually see him on stage. They were on their way to the awards when Biggie was performing. After receiving the award for R&B Soul or Rap Song of the Year for his song One More Chance, Biggie and his team decided to leave the building for their own safety without any of the people from Death Row knowing, so that it wouldn't come to a confrontation once the awards are over and once everyone is leaving. So Puffy, Biggie, and a small group of people are now trying to leave through the back door, but they're being held by security, which got bribed by the Death Row head of security, Reggie Wright Jr., who was notified that they're trying to leave. So the people from Death Row are now driving to the back door, so that they can block their way out and confront them. Keefe D and his people wouldn't have been able to help them even if they wanted to, because again, nobody was allowed to get 50 people through the back door. The people from Bad Boy had a flight to catch to North Carolina, where they had a show. So that's where they were heading to. Pac, Suge, the Outlaws, Reggie Wright Jr., bodyguard Frank Alexander, and a large group of Ma Pyru members arrived at the back door where Biggie was just coming out. It was all set up, and possible thanks to the guy who ran the security at the awards. It was someone that grew up with Reggie and worked for the LAPD. Suge and his people had that much power, making cops hold them back until the people from Death Row had arrived. Due to them being late, their plan of attacking Biggie and Puffy on stage didn't work out. They resorted to plan B, to surprise them when they're trying to leave. Pac jumped out the Hummer and saw Biggie the moment he came out of that building. He immediately started yelling and insulting him. "You fat mother F, traitor, you on the west side now. Let's get this ish over with right here, right now." Biggie had Puffy, Lil Cease, Lance Rivera.
Which Tupac era do y'all love? Do y'all love all get around Tupac, or Thug Life Tupac, or y'all love Death Row Tupac? Let me know, y'all. Which three? I Get Around Digital Underground Tupac. What I said? How about I say Me Against the World? Thug Life Tupac or Death Row Tupac? Which one do y'all love?
C Gutter and one security guard with him. The two groups came face to face and started arguing. C Gutter from Biggie's camp then pulled out a gun. He just came out of jail and was a known gangster. Reggie Wright from Pac's camp then warned him, saying that he better lower the gun and not point it at him. It'll be over if he does. Cause Reggie had a gun too, pointing right back at them. Pac was yelling, "Give me the gun! Give me the gun! Shoot that mother F! Shoot him!" And Reggie was trying to calm him down while Pac was pulling him by his arm. Puffy panicked and jumped down the embankment, ran alongside the trucks, and according to Reggie Wright, he tried to hide under a car. He was scared to death. Biggie, on the other hand, stood there like a man, saying nothing, cool and relaxed. Lil Cease, however, was quote-unquote pissy drunk and started to respond to the things Tupac was saying. "F you N-word, East Coast mother F." To which Pac responded, "We on the west side now, we gon' handle this ish." Aside from Puff, there were two more people that tried to run away. So the people from Death Row definitely had the advantage that day. Keefe D said if he was with Puffy that day, he would have shot and killed everybody, meaning Suge, Pac, Reggie, and the rest of the Death Row entourage. But C Gutter and Reggie thankfully didn't fire any bullets that day. The Fruit of Islam came and jumped in between the two groups, calming down the situation. Suge was talking to one of them, and after that, both groups went their separate ways. Tupac and Suge went inside the auditorium and walked around as if they owned the building, signing autographs, taking pictures, posing, while he was supposed to be on stage and accept the award for Best Album of the Year, cause he had won with Me Against the World. But Pac didn't go on stage.
Shout out to Me Against the World, one of my favorite albums.
Another one, another one.
Give me a hell yeah!
He was just walking around the building full of adrenaline, as if he's looking for a fight. Puff Daddy had already reached the limo, as he ran away as fast as possible. His ex-bodyguard Gene Deal jumped in the car shortly after that. The rest of the Bad Boy camp was on their way to the airport. Puff tried to call Biggie, who was trying to catch his flight to North Carolina.
You can't lie, Biggie had heart though. He stood on 10 toes. Like what a movie called Baby Boy. You got heart, cuz. Oh shit, little nigga got heart. You got heart, cuz. I ain't gonna hit you like your punk ass friend. Cause you got heart, kid. But I am gonna whoop you. Oh, that shit was funny as hell. You got heart, cuz.
He didn't go on the phone because he was mad at Puffy for leaving him behind and escaping while he was there trapped, almost getting killed by gang members. Puff didn't come to North Carolina with them. Instead, he drove back.
I gotta see this shit. I gotta see it. That shit's stuck in my head. Hold up. I gotta see this shit. Hold up. You a hard cuz. How you said this shit was funny as fuck. Hold up. Baby boy. What is it? Damn, this ain't what? What is it? What the fuck? Lord, you need to help that baby. That motherfucker got rolls. I know you fucking lying. That motherfucker like that. What's that goddamn little car company with the wheels? Damn, what is that? Fuck.
Man, y'all.
Oh, music.
Well, nigga, what you got in your pockets? Bitch ass nigga. These. Say something. Stanky ass nigga, take a bag. About to take my liquor.
What is it? What is it? Never mind, I'm gone.
To the house he was staying at in LA. The one that Suge and the Ma Pyru tried to find back when they assaulted Mark Bell in December 95, just to squeeze some information out of him. Gene Deal then called Chaz Slim Williams, owner of Black Hand Entertainment, and told him what happened. He mentioned the fact that Puffy ran for his life, and Puff overheard the conversation while he was walking upstairs in the house he was staying at. Puffy yelled at him and said, "Why you telling him I ran? Why you ain't tell him I took a left?" Chaz and Gene Deal were both shocked. Puff was heated, came back downstairs to speak to Gene. He said, "Yo, Gene, I got 126 employees, and these people depend on me for their livelihoods. If these white folks thought or would think that I had anything to do with any kind of gunplay, they wouldn't F with me, and they're not gonna F with me. I'm a businessman. I'm about making money. But something gotta change. I don't give a F if Pac gotta die, Big gotta die, or Suge Knight go to jail. Something has to change." And then he went back upstairs. Gene Deal and his friend, who was in the same room, couldn't believe what they just heard. The other man in the room said, "Yo, this guy said Big." And Gene said, "He sure did. Big gotta die? Yo, he said Big." The
My
following
thing about Puffy, like, you gonna hire Crips, all type of shit, and then you say Big guy down. Come on now. You know what I'm saying? You the one antagonized Tupac anyway. When y'all dropped that "Who Shot You" shit, you thought it wasn't gonna be no repercussions because he was locked up. You thought he had 4 years till he got out, huh? That's what it was. You know what I'm saying? Tank versus Tyrese. Oh, I ain't seen that shit. Yeah, nah. That for the women right there, boy. Now, like some goddamn, they had Casey and JoJo in that motherfucker versus R. Kelly or some shit. Like, I'll be up in there. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see no damn Tank.
In weeks, Hollywood Reporter quoted an unnamed source saying that Pac waved a pistol at Big, adding more fuel to the fire.
Like Drew Hill or something.
On April 28, 1996, Tupac and Snoop Dogg released the music video for Two of America's Most Wanted.
Pop, please don't kill me. It was Buff's idea. No, man, I'm just a rapper, man. Please don't take me out the game.
I ain't gonna take you out of the game.
The intro features two characters named Biggie and Buffy, who, as you can guess, were supposed to depict Puffy and Biggie, sitting in the office bragging about having eliminated Tupac, and now having no obstacles on their way to the top. As in real life, Tupac survived the shooting, and in the video he's trying to find out if they were the ones who set him up. He surprises them and steps into the office like Tony Montana in the movie Scarface, trying to see their reactions after Biggie got a call from a guy who claims to be the hitman. Piggy's response and reaction confirmed Tupac's suspicions of them having something to do with it. He confronts the two and in the end tells his homie Big Syke to shoot them. Again, Big Syke was the guy that saved Tupac when the Southsiders approached him. This video could be interpreted as a threat to Biggie and Puffy, cause it came out right after the Soul Train Awards, where they drew guns on each other, and where Puffy ran for his life. So Puffy didn't see the video as just a funny Scarface parody, but more as a threat and something that may happen in the near future if he's uncareful or doesn't take the right measures. Seeing a music video of Pac letting people shoot him, especially after...
Where's my late Pac? Things will never change. That shit so deep and rooted in us, bro. I think like it gotta be a war in the U.S. for everything to change, to be honest. You know, if y'all get what I'm saying, like a war, like, you know how the war is breaking out over the overseas shit. Now that shit just come to America and shit like that. We all band together, you know what I'm saying, as one people, as one nation. That's when I think things will really change. But you know what I mean.
The Quad Studio robbery in New York and the incident with Snoop and the Dog Pound at the video shoot for New York, New York, definitely added a layer of fear and reasons to assume that they were really trying to hurt or even kill him for the things they blamed him for. But after the release of that video, it appeared as if Death Row is starting to chill. At a mid-May East-West rap summit in Philadelphia, set up by Dr. Benjamin Chavez to help defuse the situation, Suge avoided any negative comments about Puffy, who did not attend because he said there was too much hype around the event. There's nothing between Death Row and Bad Boy, or me and Puffy. Death Row sells volume, so how could Puffy be a threat to me, or Bad Boy be a threat to Death Row? A few weeks later, however, Death Row released a song that told a different tale. Tupac dropped his vicious diss track Hit 'Em Up on June 4th, 1996, which was aimed at Puffy, Biggie, and everyone associated to the label Bad Boy Records. He joked about them running at the Soul Train Awards and bragged about sleeping with Biggie's wife, while threatening to kill members of Bad Boy Records. The Southside Crips, according to Keefe D, took offense to one line in particular.
Bad Boy as a staff, record label, and as a motherfucking crew. And if you want to be down with Bad Boy, then fuck you too.
That made the Southsiders mad, even though none of them got mentioned by name.
Yeah,
but they had Puffy's back and multiple encounters with Pac and his label, so they felt like Pac was speaking.
I don't understand that. Y'all right did it. Y'all right did it hard as hell, bro. You know what I'm saying? Probably didn't even say y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Speaking to them, and they weren't, of course, the only ones that had problems with that record. The ones who were upset about it the most were, of course, Biggie and Puffy. Diddy feared for his position in the rap game. Pac was harming his label and slowing down his money, while making him look like a joke to everyone in the industry. And of course, back then, nobody wanted to look like a weakling or a victim in the rap game. Pac and Suge were doing everything they could to make them look soft, which most likely would have ended their careers back then. Things escalated when Biggie saw the pictures of Tupac and his wife Faith Evans together, where she's holding up her hand, showing that she took off her wedding ring. At least that's what everyone was saying back then. People believed that she purposefully cheated on Biggie to make him jealous after he cheated on her multiple times, and their marriage ended up falling apart, with Biggie choking her and telling the Vibe magazine that their relationship dissolved, and that they're nothing but friends now. His ego and confidence was crushed, just like Pac had planned it. The same happened with Puffy when he found out about his baby mama Misa and Suge Knight having a relationship. Wolf, the man who was accused of shooting Big Shake, showed Puffy pictures of Suge and Misa Hilton together, which were in a Death Row artist press magazine at the time. Suge had his arm around Misa, while she had Puffy's 2-year-old son Justin in her arm. The same son Puffy went to Jermaine Dupri's birthday party with, where Big Jake got shot. Not only was the photo itself disrespectful and threatening, but the caption made it even worse. The caption said,
"Who the fuck is these damn bitches?"
What the East Coast won't take care of, the West Coast will. The ad, which was discussed on New York's Hot 97 by resident gossip Wendy Williams, never ran anywhere, but reps were tarnished nonetheless. Puffy was enraged and fuming when he saw those pictures. His ex-bodyguard Gene Deal said he saw a vein come out of Puffy's forehead out of anger, and also claimed that Puffy made a couple of phone calls later, yelling and cussing everybody out. What the hell is Suge doing with my son? Is he trying to threaten me? They stayed up until the next morning because the situation was heated. It was hard to calm him down. He tried calling Misa Hilton, but she didn't go on the phone. So he allegedly panicked, thinking Suge had kidnapped his baby mama and son. On June 30th, Puffy was rushed to the emergency room of St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital in Manhattan, where he was treated for a deep cut to his lower right arm. New York's Daily News called it a slit wrist, implying that it was more than just an accident, a possible suicide attempt. Puffy called the story nonsense. I was playing with my girl and I reached for a champagne glass, and it broke on my bracelet, cutting my arm. I ain't trying to kill myself. I got problems, but it ain't that bad, Puffy said. Death Row head of security Reggie Wright claims that Puffy panicked when he saw those pictures, and when he heard of Suge taking Misa and her son Justin to LA. Puffy supposedly thought that Suge kidnapped them and tried to harm his son in retaliation for Big Jake's murder, to show him what real gangsters are capable of. Puffy's mother hysterically called the officers of Death Row to ask and beg them to return her grandson, meaning Puffy's firstborn, Justin Combs. She allegedly told them that Puffy tried to commit suicide by cutting his wrist while he was drunk. The bad boy camp later denied that the cuts came from a suicide attempt, saying that it was just an accident. Misa Hilton wasn't on good terms with Puffy at the time, so she allegedly laughed it off, saying, "This BA N-word really tried to kill himself," while she was in LA spending time with Suge. She was having a good time and sleeping around while
ain't nothing like that. A woman got to make a woman mad. They don't give a damn. You get your worst enemy, bitch. Shit. I better tighten up out there. Be safe, my guys. She make a woman that mad and scorn. Shit.
the father of her son had a mental breakdown and tried to take his own life. Misa then went back home after a week or two when Suge was done using her and the situation cooled down. But the damage was done and Puffy hit a low point in terms of mental health and overall happiness.
Come on, now! I got hoes! I think Biggie face! Big hair, man. Big hair. Okay, but I did you for you, but I did you. But you told me, puppy, bitch, so I did it for you.
Pac and Suge were playing mind games, trying to drive him crazy, destroy him and everything he worked for. According to Gene Deal, that was the last straw and the point of no return for Puffy. When the legendary DJ Eric B wanted to have a meeting with Biggie in hope to help squash the East Coast West Coast beef.
So Puffy, you got mad over your girl, your baby mama. Damn. I mean, for all my fellas out there, dude, you know what I'm saying, your enemy do you know what I'm saying? If your baby mama, y'all gonna take it to the stream, all the fellas down there, let me know. You enemies with you fuck your baby mama, you gonna take it to the stream or you gonna let the shit go? I need to know. Y'all let me know.
Puffy didn't want any part of a truce meeting, even though months prior at the Source Awards, he was saying that the East Coast West Coast beef needs to stop.
I would like to say that I'm very proud of Dr. Dre, of Death Row, and Suge Knight for their accomplishments. And all this East and West that needs to stop.
In interviews, he seemed exhausted and made it seem like he's ready to end the beef. I'm ready for it to come to a head. However, it gotta go down, Puffy said. I'm ready for it to be out of my life and be over with. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I just hope it can end quick and in a positive way, because it's gotten out of hand. Puffy wanted his revenge, but didn't know how to get it without potentially ruining his business and reputation as a serious and noble label boss. In interviews, he was all positive and peaceful, making it seem like he's ready to just shake hands and end the beef. But behind the scenes, he was pulling strings, while rejecting peacemaking efforts from people that are close to both sides, or from respected leaders like Farrakhan, who were known to solve problems, squash beefs and make peace. It was important for him to look like a saint to the public. Him and Suge were very different individuals. Suge didn't care about getting labeled as a villain, bully, tyrant, terrorist, gang member or bad guy in general. Puffy, on the other hand, always wanted to look like the good guy, even though he did a lot of bad things behind the scenes. Overall, he cared more about his public image. But his hatred for Suge and Pac made him do the unthinkable. One night, Puffy invited Von Zip and Keefe D to come meet him at Greenblatt's Deli and Fine Wines on Sunset, which is in LA.
Alright, Jay, I'm gonna stop it right here. I'm gonna do part two. I'm gonna do part two this weekend. But tomorrow we are doing Suge Knight.